Hello world, this is Jeffrey, JW146 Blake with Team Level 5, coming to you with the next part of our ongoing Unified Mindset preview. So we're going type by type. Today we're looking at fighting types. We're going to start off looking at Onix. For a single fighting energy, Onix does 20 damage, and during the following turn, any damage done to Onix is reduced by 20. Seems kind of mediocre for, you have to decide if you're playing it for Steelix. So Steelix says for a single fighting energy, he'll do 20 damage. And then he'll attach 2 fighting energy from your discard pile onto Steelix. Maybe you used Onix the turn before and attached, so you've got 2 fighting energy here and you're using this attack to then get 2 more and you'll have 4, and then you'll be able to attach 1 more for 5, being able to then do the big attack here for 220 damage. That's a lot of steps, and this is a high energy cost, but maybe it's worth it because you're doing 220 damage with a single prize attacker. However, the clauses here are not great because it says that none of your Pokemon can attack next turn. We're tanky with 170 HP. I don't know if we can survive skipping an entire turn of attacking. There's a supporter coming up that can help us with that, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But I like the artwork here, and I think that's the best thing about the card. Next, we get a Cubone. Nothing super special about Cubone. He has a single colorless attack, Growl, preventing 20 damage from your next opponent's attack, reducing, I guess. And then a double colorless, the 2 colorless energy attack for 20 damage for each head that you flip off of 2 coin flips. Wow, I can speak English sometimes. Wouldn't know that from all of my videos though. Then we get into some things that are a little bit more exciting. We have Aerodactyl GX. To my knowledge, this is the first time we have had a fossil Pokemon evolved into a 2-prize Pokemon. So, you did it. Aerodactyl has the ability that as long as he is your active, your opponent's basic Pokemon must have an extra colorless energy in order to attack. So that means that you're disrupting a little, you're preventing them from executing their game plan. That's good. Is the rest of Aerodactyl good? Well, we have a fighting and 2 colorless energy attack. We are stage 1, so we can power this up with triple acceleration energy if necessary. Or we can use the fighting stadium that's out there to reduce the attack cost, making it, dropping it to just 2 colorless, meaning 2 energy suffice. You could use both, and then you're just using a triple colorless energy, or 2 of any energy to attack, and you're doing a flat 120 damage. Lots of steps to get there. 120 damage doesn't seem like enough, but we have damage buffs, right? We have Fighting Stadium that does 10 more damage, 40 more damage if you're behind on prizes. We have Diancie is still in format, so potentially instead of this doing 120, it could do 130, it could do 140 with just Diancie. Both, it could do 150. If you're behind on prizes, it could do 180. We're starting to see some good math here. Sort of almost any of those additions, the damage buffs, are enough to make this KO a tag team that is weak to fighting, and there are a few out there. Plus, he might survive long enough to 2-hit KO something that's not weak to fighting. That's good too. We also have a GX attack, and is the GX attack good? Well, it's pretty good. It really pairs well with the ability, because it says that for 1 fighting energy, you can do 50 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon for each energy they have attached to their active. That means straight out one fighting energy, and you are OHKOing any of the fighting weak like tag teams that have enough energy to attack. Pikarom, you're gone. Darkrai and Umbreon, we haven't talked about you yet, but you're gone. Tyranitar, you're gone. Greninja Zord, you're gone. So that's pretty good. And because you're increasing the number of energy required, things like Reshizard, where their normal attack is 4 energy, now it's a 5 energy attack if they've managed to attack, and you go up there. You just need Dancey on the bench to OHKO Reshizard. That's pretty good. So this is a nice little attacker. You might play a mix of this Aerodactyl and the one that does 180 damage if you don't have any GXs in play. Maybe you might have tricks to power this up. No spoilers, but talk to Rukan because he might know something. And yeah, we'll move on now. So we have Heracross. Heracross has a single color's attack, Ring Reversal. Basically, it says that if your opponent used a GX attack during their last turn, you shuffle their active Pokemon and all cards attached to it into their deck. Obviously, this is useful once per game at most. And then his other attack is Tackle. Well, Tackle is relevant because of the item, Normalium Z, lets him do a GX attack, but don't know if this is the tackler you're going to want to play. He does have 100 HP, and that's good. We'll have to see. I'll be doing a video looking at combinations, and we'll judge which tackler is the best in that video later. We have Breloom. Breloom is a stage 1 for 1 grass energy. Uses the Spore attack. If you play Breloom down and you have a Mungus on your bench, that is, like if you evolve into Breloom, I should say, that is going to count as playing a Pokemon with Spore. That means you're going to get the extra effect and your opponent's going to be asleep and poisoned. And then you can make use of the second attack, which is the better part here. If your opponent's, you do 30 damage, but if your opponent's active is asleep, you do 90 more damage. Well, because we have the Spore attack, we get to do that extra damage the turn that we put Breloom into play. We can keep it going by benching more Spore attackers or evolving into more Brelooms. That's pretty good. 120 damage on a basic, not a basic, on a single prize attacker for 1 energy is pretty good. So I expect there to be some Breloom decks out there. I don't know if they're going to be good enough or not, but they do hit for weakness against, all the things we just talked about, and that could be enough to make this work. We see a Meditite. To me, Meditite is actually more interesting than Medicham because it's a single fighting energy attack to do 40 on a basic, and because we have so many buffs for that. We've talked about all of them already, but long story short, if you're hitting for weakness, you could potentially, if you're behind on prizes, end up hitting for 100 damage, 200 damage if you're hitting for weakness. I think that's the most relevant thing here. I think that's the only reason this would see play is that you can buff it so many ways. It would make a good single prize attacker in certain decks. You are not able to attack with the Screaming Headbutt attack 2 turns in a row. You'd have to do some kind of switch effect or just manually retreat. But still, I think it has potential as a random 1 prizer your opponent never saw coming. Medicham, on the other hand, is a stage 1, so your opponent's going to see it coming. He puts 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. That doesn't hit for weakness and isn't buffed by any of the fighting stuff. For 2 fighting, he will do 60 damage and do 60 more damage with Black Belt being attached. So here we're at 120. Maybe this is enough to push things over. You start to get those damage modifiers, and this does bounce up. But I think Meditite is actually a bigger reason to play this line, and Master's Blow here on Medicham is just sort of the icing on the cake that maybe pulls it all together and makes it work. We then have a Relicanth with the beautiful little clay art there. Relicanth has a single colorless attack called Deep Sea Boring. What it says is that you get to search your deck for a trainer card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. I mean, if you're stuck, then hey, it's techable, so it could get you out of some situations, but why are you building your deck in such a way that you expect to need to attack just to get a trainer card? I said support a card. It is any trainer card, so that's a little bit different, but still, I think it's too little. If that was an ability, that'd be amazing though. We then have a 2-colorless energy attack to do 30 damage and put our opponent's active to sleep. That's a little bit interesting, but still not great. Moving on, we have a Gible. It's the beautiful, beautiful crocheted artwork that my wife loves. And honestly, I almost want to show her this card just to see if she'll make me a Gible. It's very, very neat looking. But I probably wouldn't play this card because there is a Gible in format with Ascension. Shout out to Alex for reminding me of that yesterday. And then we can evolve into Gabite if we have to. And Gabite is another card. I like this artwork too, even though it's totally different. But it's another card that we probably aren't going to play, right? Because for 1 fighting energy, I didn't even talk about Gible's attacks. They don't matter. It's fighting energy for 10 damage or fighting in colors for 30. Not what we're going to be looking for. Gabite is kind of the same thing. Same attack costs. You just do 10 more damage. 20 and 40 instead of 10 and 30. There's a Gabite that has Ascension, so you probably want to use that one. And then we have Garchomp. And Garchomp is pretty good. So the ability says if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, you get to increase Garchomp's attacks by 80 damage. The attack for 1 fighting and 1 colorless does 80 damage. So now we're at 160. You can choose to discard a single energy. That's a pretty easy choice in my book when it's only a 2 energy attack cost. Now you're hitting for 200 damage. Oh, and by the way, we can hit for weakness still, so that could be 400 against fighting weak Pokemon, but we're not necessarily even done because we still have all of the buffs we've talked about before that can amount to ultimately around 60 extra damage, so we could be hitting for 260, maybe even ways that I'm not thinking of to buff it further. That's good. A single prize attacker, if you're behind on prizes, able to hit for 260 or more. That one hit KOs most tag teams. That it's just good. We're gonna see it. Oh, and by the way, he has free retreat. So if you need to retreat, you can. You're probably just gonna keep attacking with him, attaching that 1 energy repeatedly until he goes down, though, because heavy hitting. And even when you're not behind on prizes, you're still doing 120 damage for 2 energies plus modifiers. Yeah, I like Garchomp. Follow that with a Riolu. Very nice artwork. Single fighting energy to do 20 damage is not the Riolu we want to play, even though he's so pretty. We want to play the one that if we have to attack with it, he can be immune on a coin flip. And then we have a different Riolu. Oh, this is the same one, different artwork. This one's pretty too. We got the rainbow. I imagine... I wouldn't think we're getting 2 with the same attack, so I imagine we're just going to see this one. But Pokemon does weird things sometimes. Then we have a new Lucario. The Lucario ability here says that your tag teams take 20 less damage from your opponent's attacks. It does stack, so you could make your tag teams taking a whole lot less damage if you want to. Could be good. Wouldn't be good in the deck we've been talking about. Clearly in that one, you're going to want to play the Riolu, the Lucario that we had from back in the day that lets you search out any card you want, any item card, not just any card. Yeah, consistency is huge. So you're gonna want to play that lineup if you're playing Lucario in your Garchomp deck, and he could help you get some of those damage buffs that we were talking about too. So that's kind of what I would envision happening, but I've been surprised. Different things will happen, and like I say, he's a good tech option to just get a little bit of extra damage out of your tag teams, or a little bit of extra life out of your tag teams. Then we have Drifbur, 70 damage, single, or 70 HP, single fighting for 20 damage, no extra clauses. It's just a pre-evolution. Pre-evolution for the exciting Excadrill. Excadrill, for a single fighting energy, lets you choose 4 cards from your discard pile, show them to your opponent, and put them back in your deck. Don't we have a basic that does this named Oranguru, and it's a colorless attack? We do. Oh, and they have the same HP? Yeah. You're going to just play resource management over this. The 3 energy attack, 1 fighting, and 2 colorless for 90 damage. Again, Oranguru has a 3 energy attack. One of them can be fighting if you want. It provides confusion and 60 damage. Play resource management. Don't mess around with a stage 1 that has to be fighting energy. It's not as easy to get out evolutions anymore. Just play resource management. No Excadrills. We have another fossil Pokemon, Archen. Archen is a pre-evolution. It has an attack called Endeavor that does 20 damage for each heads you flip off of coin flips. Or no, 20 plus. So you could do 20, 40, or 60? Yes. That's okay. Damage buffs make it a little bit better. Again, the 20 damage here is... like 20 plus is so much better than 20 times because you have that base damage to use modifiers to increase, but certainly not a reason to play the card. The reason would be Archeops, if Archeops is busted, and Archeops is not really busted. We have a single colorless attack for 40 damage, and then you switch to the bench. Not horrible, definitely not busted. We have a single colorless attack for 80 damage. It's called Hyper Beam. I think of Hyper Beam, maybe it's just because I got into the game after playing Pokemon Go, but I think of Hyper Beam as a big, huge, boom shot of energy that does lots of damage. This just does 80 and has the extra clause that you discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Maybe I'm wrong about what Hyper Beam is supposed to be, though. Let me know in the comments if that's the case. I don't foresee Archeops seeing a ton of play, but surprises. Then we have Terrakion, or Terrakion, is probably the right way to say it. I'm correcting myself because Steven's not here to do it. For a fighting energy and 2 colors energy, we do 50 damage. If all of our opponent's benched Pokemon have damage on them, then this actually becomes 150 more. So 200 damage on a basic. Seems pretty good to me. Pokemon thought so too because this is another of our pre-release promos. This would be the Pokemon I was thinking of that pairs well with Jinx. So if you have some damage around but not all of your Pokemon are damaged, Jinx can make it happen so that you get the extra clause here. Still not sure that's a reason to play Jinx though. Yeah, I don't know. I can see this being thrown into the already existing Stunfisk deck with Spiritomb, because you then have an extra way to hit really big numbers. But yeah, the second attack, extra energy, extra fighting energy, hitting 110. No, we're not using it for that, like ever. But the first attack could be really good in the right situations. Get a new Meloetta, basic with a single colorless attack. It's not fighting, so you can't reduce the cost with our fun tools. Attach an energy to one of your tag teams. My comment though is you have 90 HP, you're probably going to get knocked out. You had to attach an energy here. The only reason that you would ever do this is if you started Meloetta and had a tag team that you got later and you had to attach the energy before you played a Cynthia or something. That it's a fair point that all these things could happen, and then you're attaching an extra energy, and that's good. But I think it's better to just build your deck. It's easier to get tag teams out than it is to get basic Pokemon in a lot of cases. So I'd say just build your deck in a way that you're attaching to a tag team directly, and then you don't have to do all this extra mumbo jumbo. Second attack, 30 damage plus 30 more for each coin you flip heads on, and you just keep flipping until you flip tails. Again, you start with the 30 base damage. We have damage modifiers that make that so it could be decent. It adds up more because it's 30 times. I don't think it's a reason to play the card, but it's definitely one of the best coin flip attacks we've been seeing. But again, it's 2 energy, so it better be. And then our final fighting Pokemon of the set is this cute puppy dog named Zygarde. Zygarde is pretty decent. So he has the ability that if he's on your bench, all of your Zygarde attacks, like every Zygarde you play, does 20 more damage. So it stacks, so you could have 4 of these guys out. That's 80 more damage. You could also have Diancie out, and that's now 100 extra damage on any Zygarde base. That means this guy could do a total of, it's not 100 more because he'd have to be active, but 100 damage for a single fighting energy. And you get the extra effects. The extra effects say that you get to attach a fighting energy from your discard to a benched Pokemon. So all that together, that's pretty good. Granted, you have to have a lot of things on your bench to make that happen, and it's not trivial to get out a whole bunch of 90 HP Pokemon now that Brooklet Hill and Nest Ball are both out of the format. But you might be able to make it happen. I believe. I like Zygarde. He's one of my favorite Pokemon. Not the favorite, but he's up there. Really, what's going to determine whether or not this is good is what other Zygardes we have available in Standard. I'm not going to look at that today, but I will in the video coming up where I look at combos. So we'll talk about him some more later. With that, that's our last fighting Pokemon. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video, and we'll be back next time looking at dark Pokemon.